Jai Hind to one and all. Myself, Mahendra Dwivedi, Assistant Professor, EN Department, Ajay Kumar Garg Engineering College, Ghaziabad. Today, I am going to take a session about the Power System 1. Its subject code is KEE 501 and topic which we will see today, that is captive power plant. So, we will see what is the importance of the captive power plant, why it is critical when we are talking about the medium and large scale industries. So, let us take the content and discuss one by one all the component. So, in the content we will discuss introduction. What is the introduction? In the introduction we will see definitions. There are a lot of definitions for the captive power plant, as well as we will see types of the captive power plant. So, what are the different types of the captive power plant? Later on you will come to know that it is very much similar to the thermal power plant or any conventional type of power plant, as well as we can also include the renewable energy resources for the generation of the power. So, we will see one by one. We will see advantages and disadvantages of the captive power plant, and then what is the relevance and impact of the captive power plant in the economy of the industry, as well as which are the other factors which are involved in the generation as well as for the economy of the medium and large scale factories, and sometimes we can also take it for the small scale factories where outage is the most critical problem. So, we will see how we can improve the construction as well as the generation of the captive power plant. So, let us see one by one. So, a captive power plant, which is also known as auto producer. Auto producer means they are producing for themselves, they are producing at the site of the industry, they are utilizing at same place only. It is also known as embedded generation. Why it is known as embedded generation? Because we are generating the electricity at that point of place where our industry is based, and we are utilizing same power at that point only. So, it is an electricity generation facility and which is used and managed by industrial or commercial energy users, and we can say for their own energy consumption. So, normally captive power plants are being constructed for their own purpose. It is normally not constructed for the transmission purpose, but sometimes case may be there where the energy generation is much more than the demand, then excess energy can be supplied to the grid. So, that is the different case, but normally captive power plants are operated at the off grid level because they are using their own power generation for their own consumption. So, they can be connected to electric grid as well. As I said that it can also be connected to electric grid depending upon whether generation is excess compared to the demand. So, that is all which is written. Used by the power intensive industries. Here power intensive where the high power consumption is there in the industries, there we are using the captive power plant. So, as well as we can see the continuity of the power is required. So, at that place we can see captive power plant plays a very critical role, because dependency on the grid, sometimes grid may fail or there may be some small fault, but your generation or production cannot be affected. So, this can only happen when we are having the captive power plant. So, it is very crucial. As I said, there are some industries, example like aluminum smelters, steel plants, chemical plants, etc. There may be some other types of plant also. However, radical cost for solar power system has enabled the opportunity for less energy intensive industries to economically grid defect by coupling solar PV with generators or cogeneration unit along with the battery system. So, nowadays if we will see the solar power energy generation per unit generation is much less compared to the 10 years ago. So, nowadays solar power generation can be connected or combined with other types of the power generators, and we can also form the cogeneration units along with the battery system. If we will see, for any industry to thrive, the quality, reliability and cost of the electricity are important factors. So, they are very important because supply should be very reliable, quality supply should be available, like it should not contain very high harmonics, as well as cost of the electricity is very crucial component for the economics of the industries. So, for any industry these factors are very important. So, in the absence of a reliable and cost effective electricity through the local distribution company, like when DISCOM may fail or there may be some small fault, so outage of the supply will be there, and reliability, quality as well as cost of the electricity will be affected. So, an electricity customer, typically industrial or commercial, undertakes captive power generation. In other words, the customer sets up its own power generation plant for self use, and this reduces the customer's dependability on grid and compensates it against sale of surplus power to the DISCOM. So, whenever there will be surplus generation, so when demand is less than generation, so in that case excess power can be supplied to the grid. So, a captive generation plant in India may be set up by any person. Any person can set up, like any we are having rooftop projects where any person can install some solar power plant in their rooftop, which is empty or it is not being utilized for any other purpose, and they can generate the electricity and they can get the incentives, as well as they can have other system also where they can utilize same power for their own purpose and excess power can be transferred or supplied to the grid system. So, it can be set up by any person, any cooperative society or an association of the persons, including companies, for generating electricity primarily for self consumption. So, normally again and again I am saying, normally captive power plants are being set up for self consumption, and industries we are having which are having captive power plants. So, normally it is used for the industry only. For household purpose, rooftop projects, and there are some other projects which are being set up at the lower power scale, but a captive power plant may be set up at the level of some megawatt, but we cannot talk about the rooftop power plant for the megawatt level. So, it is only up to some kilowatts. So, captive power plant can also serve multiple stakeholders through a group of captive mechanism if it is satisfies the following conditions, like 51% of its electricity generated is used by the owner. So, it is the mandatory, it is a mandatory purpose that you cannot set up a captive power plant where 51% of its electricity generated is not used by the owner. So, self consumption and minimum aggregate or individual ownership of the captive generating plant is at least 26%. So, minimum is 26% and you can go up to 100%, but normally government is saying that 51% of the electricity generated should be utilized by the owner only. It should not be utilized by the or it should not be sent to the grid. So, due to frequent increase in electricity tariff, again I am saying if we are talking about the commercial tariff, so it may vary from state to state. So, commercial per unit cost, it may be depending upon state to state 10 to 15 rupees per unit. But when we are generating our own power, so it could be as less as 5 rupees per unit. So there is large gap between the rates of the government supplied by the DISCOMs and the captive power plant which you are setting up in your own area. So as well as captive power plant will also give some high reliability, but DISCOM may give poor reliability of the electricity supply. There may be some forced outages in the grid connected system. Long power cuts may be there for maintenance purpose or for some other purpose. A large number of industries have switched over to their own generating station and within their own campus. So this method of generation is called captive power generation, and such plants are known as captive power plant. So they are also known as self producers because they are producing by their own and they are utilizing same power for their own purpose. So they are also known as self producers or auto producers. So if you will see, there are different types of the classification. One of the classification of captive power plant is on the basis of ownership. So either it is a single owner or there are multiple owners, or there are some cooperative societies, or there are some group of companies which are combined and they are making the captive power plant for their own usage. Similarly, other criteria is on the basis of technology of fuel. So it is very important. In most of the cases, we will find that it is the optimum generating unit with lowest cost per unit generation. But if we will see diesel, so diesel cannot be used, diesel generator cannot be used at each and every time, or in a regular interval you cannot use the diesel generator because generating cost of a diesel generator may go up to 15 to 20 rupees per unit. Similarly, small hydropower plants, solar, wind turbines. Normally wind turbines are not preferred in the populated area because there may be some case where accident may occur. So it is not preferred in the populated area. Normally it is a growing sector and solar power plants are being set up in the roof of the industries where we can utilize the space as well as we can generate the electricity for our own purpose. So it is also one of the type of generation, but normally baggage is also used in a kind of thermal power plant only because it is used as a fuel to heat up the water and convert the water into steam. So connectivity with grid, normally there could be standalone, that is also known as off grid system, and in the same premises grid may also be available. And as I said in the previous slide, whenever there will be surplus generation, that is generation is greater than the demand, so we can say that we can have grid connected system so that whatever excess power is being generated that can be sent to the grid. So it is outside premises, here you have to construct some part of the transmission line because grid connectivity is not available in your premises. So therefore, when grid connectivity is not available in our premises, so we have to extend the wires up to the point where grid is available, so that whatever excess power is generated, that can be sent to the grid. So it is somewhat costly affair, but when we are setting up high power level captive power plant, so costing of this thing which is extra for the extension of the transmission line, so that can be adjusted. But normally for the low level or we can say low capacity power plant, it is not advisable to have grid connectivity whenever grid is not available in our campus, or it is far away from our campus, because connectivity of the grid from the campus, we need wires, or we need some bare conductor, aluminum conductor, as well as some civil structure will also be required. So let us see what are different types of the captive power plant. So most important and common type is steam plant, then gas turbine based plant, diesel engine plant, cogeneration plant, small hydro power plant, and wind and diesel. Basically, whenever we are having captive power plant based on the renewable energies, so since reliability of the renewable energy resources is not very good, so whenever there will be some requirement of the power which can make the required power for our consumption, so in that case, whenever proper wind is not there, wind power plant will not generate the enough power, and so that to meet the demand, we have to generate some power from the diesel power plant. So let us see steam power plant. These plants are set up by large size heavy industries, example steel, aluminum, etc., which already have access to coal and necessary facilities for purchasing and storing the coal. So these plants are basically generally of around 100 megawatt or larger. Some industries, for example, if we will say sugar industries use the baggage. Baggage is the byproduct of the sugar cane in the sugar industry, which is being utilized for the generation of the steam from the water. So as a fuel in captive power plant, to reduce the generation cost, baggage is a waste dry sugarcane left over after the sugar juice has been extracted. So many sugar industries in Andhra Pradesh, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, etc. have steam captive power plant using baggage as fuel. Generation of the plants ranges from 1 megawatt to 25 megawatt. So gas turbine based plant, it is suitable and used in the large sizes. Some industries, for example petrochemical, have easy access to gas and liquids fuels, and therefore prefer captive power plant having gas turbine which uses gas and liquid fuel. For example, ONGC in the Hazira, Gujarat, 59 megawatt power plant, captive power plant is there. Reliance Industries 47.5 megawatt in Narod, Gujarat. Maruti Udyog 60 megawatt in Gurgaon, Haryana. So they are based on the gas turbine technology. Cogeneration power plant. So for cogeneration plant may be steam gas turbine plant with base heat boiler combined cycle cogeneration plant, biomass fuel plant, diesel engine plant, etc. So basically in the cogeneration, two different types of the technologies are mixed, so that whatever heat is being waste in the is going in the form of wastage in the steam power plant, so that can be utilized for the generation purpose with help of some other type of technology. So that is known as cogeneration power plant. So basic idea is to use as much of the energy of the fuel as possible, because same steam is being utilized for the generation of the electricity in the thermal power plant, and then whatever heat is left after that process, that heat is being utilized for the some other type of generation, or we can say the low pressure steam turbine can be set up at the secondary stage. So in this way we can generate much electricity without wasting the energy of the fuel. So initial cost of cogeneration plant is more, because we are going to combine two different types of the technology together, but later on however, if an industry require both electricity and steam, the cost of installation of the separate steam generator is saved. So we can say Arvind Mills 229 megawatt plant gas turbine has a combined cycle captive power plant at Ahmedabad, Gujarat. Diesel engine plant. So there are largest number of the captive power plant. They are used in the sizes of 1 megawatt to 10 megawatt, sometimes 30 megawatt or above. Advantages. What are the advantages? Advantages are low capital investment, a small space is required, quick starter time and efficiency. It can start within 10 seconds or 15 seconds. So efficiency is also higher, and capital cost investment is less, as well as if we will see space requirement is also very less. Example is India Cement 30 megawatt plant, Khorapa, Andhra Pradesh. Indian Oil Corporation 75 megawatt, Panipat, Haryana. Let us see hydropower plant. So it is suitable for the industry located near the site of a mini hydropower plant. So it is a low gestation period, short starting time, very low operating cost, absence of the pollution. Thus it makes cost effective captive power plant. Example is 12 megawatt hydro captive power plant in Kerala, 10 megawatt hydropower plant in Karnataka. So again combination of wind and diesel, it is very important, because as I said earlier, the wind speed is not constant all the time. So whenever cut-in speed of the wind, from where generation of the wind power plant start, if the wind velocity of wind speed is below cut-in speed, so generation of the wind power plant will be 0. So in that case the required power will be generated from the diesel plant. So if industry is situated in an area suitable for wind development, the wind captive power plant can be very economical. However, wind plant always has a backup diesel plant to supply electricity need during the periods of low wind speed. That low wind speed is means whenever wind speed will be below cut-in speed. So control strategy for wind diesel system is energy of wind electric generator is directly used by industry as much as possible. Extra wind is used to charge the batteries. When load cannot be met by a wind electric generator, the batteries meet remaining needs. If storage is not sufficient, diesel generator used to supply the deficient. If diesel generator it is run at full capacity, so that operates at best efficiency. In case its full capacity is not used in supplying the load, remaining capacity can be used to charge the battery. Wind energy plant requires a huge investment, and batteries further increase the cost. So let us see what are advantages and disadvantages of the captive power plant. Captive power plant may be cheaper than the power from the grid. There are no transmission and distribution losses. Power of electric theft is eliminated. There is no extra cost on infrastructure like land and road. Overhead transmission cost is low. Forced outage can be lower than that of a grid supply. No problem of power cuts. So disadvantages of the captive power plant. Cost of the captive power plant is high if industry has to purchase extra land for captive power plants. Skilled personnel to operate and maintain the captive power plant are employed. Storage of fuel may lead to the problems. Small power plants emit more pollutants as compared to big power plant. Therefore, pollutant control measure a further increase in its cost. A small size plant is inefficient, especially at low loads. Now, let us see what is the relevance of these captive power plant and what will be impact. Captive consumption in India has increased steadily over the years and has reached nearly 14% of the total electricity consumption. State of Odisha, Gujarat, Chhattisgarh, Karnataka, Uttar Pradesh, Rajasthan are states with the highest captive consumption volumes, with the first three having 61%, 25% and 47%. So, it is for the Odisha, Gujarat and Chhattisgarh, that is 61% for Odisha, Gujarat 24%, 47% for Chhattisgarh. So, as share of captive consumption in overall states electricity consumption respectively. Electricity cost optimization is a key driver for captive generation. For a typical large captive power plant about 25 megawatt, electricity generation cost generally below 5 rupees per kilowatt hour. Depending on type of fuel, technology, coal, gas, solar, wind, etc. and location of the plant. On other hand, electricity tariffs across key industrial states go as high as 8 rupees per kilowatt hour, which proves strong economies for typical industrial customers to set up captive power plant. Given that industrial customers cross subsidize residential customers for supply through DISCOM, this trend is leading to loss of revenues for the DISCOMs as customers shift to captive generation. Government is also providing multiple incentives in form of discounted billing and banking charges and net metering for renewable energy captive generation, thereby promoting renewable energy captive power with increasing decentralized generation of electricity. It is expected that more and more customers would start exploring new avenues to produce or procure electricity at a cheaper tariff. So, going forward, DISCOMs may need to observe this trend closely when they plan distribution network at such sites. So, if we will see, this is the relevance and impact of the captive power plant. So, who should care about the captive power plant? Because as we have seen throughout our discussion that these are quite important. These are helping DISCOMs also where it is not possible to take the extension of the transmission wires. So, there we can set up the captive power plant. We are also utilizing the spaces which are not being utilized for the any special purpose, or they are not being utilized for any kind of the purpose. So, thereby we can make the captive power plant, and it is also reducing the losses. Theft cases are also not there, because where you are producing in nearby area you are utilizing same power. So, in this way if we will see, losses are less, theft is less, per unit generation is less, outages are less, and we can say transmission distribution losses will be less, it will be economical, and these are all advantages. So, for this renewable energy developers and investors should come forward, so that the peoples or companies we are interested to construct or develop the captive power plant, they will come forward when special type of incentives as well as they will get the proper supports. Industrial and commercial electricity customers. So, if we will see, industrial and commercial electricity customers will come forward when there will be good policies for them, when there will be no obstruction for the construction of the captive power plant. So, DISCOM should also give the spaces in terms of capacity. If someone is generating excess power than their demand. So, in that case DISCOM should be available or capacity should be available in the transmission line, so that we can easily add the excess power in the DISCOMs. Similarly, there must be good policies, like as we have seen in previous years, good policies have came for renewable energy, and thereby we can see there is very high shift from the generation of renewable energy resources in previous years and coming years. So, a lot of people are coming, whether it is residential or whether it is commercial or it is at the large scale. So, a lot of people are coming forward to generate the electricity from renewable energy resources, and this is also helping in our atmosphere. So, there is less pollution, less carbon monoxides, less carbon dioxides. So, this was all about captive power plant. Thank you very much. See you in next lecture.